This is a naughty one. Look for a naughty one. There is a place, it's called Dance Hall, the Dance Hall. There is a place where people go and stand face to face, toe to toe, and move about in rhythmic patterns and hope that something naughty happens.
Oh, great.
Am I carrying on? All right. This is a children's poem, really. My place. There is a place inside my head. It isn't blue. It isn't red. It isn't big. It isn't small. It has no shape or size at all. It's not a room. It's not a space. Suffice to say, it's just a place. A place to go to when I'm sad, or think that I've done something bad. Sometimes a landscape, sometimes a wall, sometimes there's nothing there at all. But I can be there undisturbed. My fantasies are never curbed. Sometimes a landscape, sometimes a wall. Oh, I'm sorry, I've gone back. I can be anything I like. I'm riding on a superbike. I can feed the poor and heal the sick, perform amazing magic tricks, be a prince or an emperor, Judge Dredd or Captain America. I take my mum and dad with me, but it can't accommodate 2 or 3, because although dimensions it has not, there's only ever room for one. Sorry about the hiccup.
I didn't know you were allowed in there.
Pardon?
I didn't know you were allowed in there. I thought people like you and I were banned from in there.
I love, oh, I know. And this was written for my grandchild. Not that she's able to understand it yet, but start me off to write some children's poetry. I once saw a Yeti eating spaghetti on a mountain in Azerbaijan. As I got closer, he showed me a toaster he'd been using instead of a pan. The toaster was broke because it was soaked in bolognese sauce and some jam. So I cleaned it all out with a jug, with a spout. We went for a ride on a tram. I believe a man who sells you Brexit, because then he takes your country and he wrecks it. Building up the barriers against your neighbours, making out he's doing you a favour. He's always been surrounded by great wealth, so he doesn't really need the national help. Brexit's brought the country to its knees, but he ain't going to feel financial squeeze, because he keeps all his money overseas. Demolishing democracy, building a plutocracy, in your face hypocrisy, an outrageous democracy, cumbersome bureaucracy, unashamed kleptocracy. This ain't no meritocracy, we're ruled by mediocrity, and no one seems to care. Don't believe the fiction that it's over. They're still queuing up for days to get to Dover. And even if for now he gets kicked out because his party pals have finally sussed him out, decided for themselves it wasn't wise to hide behind his mountain of pork pies, the fundamental thing we need to know is this liar ever going to go? And if he does, I say this without malice, to whom will he hand on the poisoned chalice?
You know what the family has in the families back from years ago, the voices birth, the voices gold, called Boris the Buzz, Emperor Disgustus, because he was Augustus.
People that actually did it were extraordinary. This COVID thing. So this is Millennium Hall, 1700 hours, 5th of February 2021. Exciting, an actual outing. Driven there, not trusted to be direct and not to dawdle. High-vis volunteers in droves, directed us to designated places. Much gesticulation from the bemasked many steered me into the care of another fine indoor phalanx. COVID questioned, ID checked, sanitised, paperworked and re-leafleted, conducted carefully to my correctly distanced, freshly cleaned blue chair like a chess piece. 2 strategic moves and I was there, rechecked, reconfirmed, administratively ready. With the practice of many years, the jab put in and barely felt, dire warnings issued, handed on in knight's move to my next square, told firmly to sit and wait, crossword filling patience, until the timed label permitted my release and my extended lease. I really stopped.
Yeah, so what got to me was the girls were allowed to do needlework and the boys were allowed to do art. And I was absolutely flummoxed by it, because I didn't want to do fancy needlework. I wanted to do art with Mr. Causley. I think one of his most famous ones is this though, and they always ask for this in school. Timothy Winters.
Yeah.
Timothy Winters comes to school with eyes as wide as a football pool, ears like bombs, and teeth like splinters. A blitz of a boy is Timothy Winters. His belly is white, his neck is dark, and his hair with an exclamation mark. His clothes are enough to scare a crow, and through his breeches the blue winds blow. When teacher talks, he won't hear a word, and he shoots down dead the arithmetic bird. He licks the patterns off his plate, and has not even heard of the welfare state. Timothy Winters has bloody feet, and he lives in a house on Suez Street. He sleeps in a sack on the kitchen floor, and they say there aren't boys like him anymore. Old man Winters, well, he likes his beer, and his missus ran off with a bombardier. Grandma sits in the grate with a gin, and Timothy's dosed with an aspirin. The welfare worker lies awake, but the law's as tricky as a 10-foot snake. So Timothy Winters drinks his cup and slowly goes on growing up. At morning prayers, the Master helves for children less fortunate than ourselves. And the loudest response in the room is when Timothy Winters roars, Amen! So come one angel, come on 10. Timothy Winters says, Amen. Amen, 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 amen. Timothy Winters, Lord, amen. I always love it in schools. I do that.
Pop-up museum, and underneath it says that he was a real person. He was a real person.
Yes. Well, I think, even when I was at school, there were children like it, I can think of one family in particular, and the boy was always stealing my biscuits at break times, and he lived with his granny, and he just never had much to eat, I don't think. So I think we've all known people like it, and there are still.
He's a real person.
That's what's so sad. There are still children like it.
Yeah, and lots of them, too many.
Far too many.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a growing number.
Oh gosh, yeah.
A friend of mine runs the food bank in Liscard, and he told me the horrific fact that 67% of his clients are in work. Wow, that's got to be so shameful.
Yeah, it has.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
That's crazy, isn't it?
I
Well, can I do one more school
A
one?
book written in 1988 called Kiros, science fiction, and the blurb on the back said, "It's the 21st century. A conservative government. They are still doing for the rich, etc., etc." And then there is breakthrough. This pharmaceutical company, Bayer, who got hold of some psychomimetic and changed the whole scenario. So you can build your own world. Very interesting.